10 of CBS Sports' greatest and brightest had a meeting of the minds. They came up with something glorious. The CBS Sports 136, a ranking of all 136 FBS teams. No surprise who's clocking in at number 1, Texas. Feeling like they truly are back, coming off a CFP appearance a season ago, and now ready to hand the keys of the car over to Arch Manning. They lead the way as we take a look at the rest of the top 10, with Penn State in at number 2, Ohio State 3, Clemson and Georgia rounding out the top 5, and you see the rest of the top 10 there. We mentioned 10 voters. One of those 10 voters is the one and only Chip Patterson, who is now locked in with us this morning. We had to bring you on, Chip, and my simple question for you to begin here is, why Texas at number 1?
Continuity, Zach. This is a program under Steve Sarkisian that has continued to stack year over year. They don't reload. They just get right back to where they were. They were in the college football playoff semifinals 2 years ago. They were in the college football playoff semifinals last year. They continue to churn out NFL draft picks, and they continue to back it up. And the other piece to this in terms of continuity, Steve Sarkisian and Texas, unlike an Ohio State, unlike a Penn State, unlike many of the teams at the top of these rankings, they have their same offensive coordinator and their same defensive coordinator back from last season. In fact, Zach, they've had him back for the last couple of seasons. So Texas is doing a great job of recruiting at a high level, developing at a high level, retaining their players and their coaches. So why not have a top 4 team from a year ago hit the ground running, especially when you take the Arch Manning era into consideration?
Longhorns certainly hoping for a big year from Arch and Texas in general, and right after them you go 2-3 with maybe a bit of a surprise, Penn State coming in ahead of the reigning national champions. How'd you guys come to that decision, and maybe how contentious was that, trying to determine who's 2 and who's 3?
There's a lot of Penn State positive momentum within our brain trust. The Nittany Lions have a look kind of like Michigan from 2 years ago, kind of like Ohio State from last year. And here's what I mean by that. They had players who could be playing on Sundays, guys who'd be in training camp, maybe trying to make a roster, maybe trying to make the starting lineup, but instead they all decided, we are going to come back. There is unfinished business. There's more that can be done. Winning the Big Ten, winning a national championship. Penn State had never made the college football playoff before last year, and not only did they make it, they were a few plays away from making it to Monday night and playing for the national championship. And so I think that what we recognize is that this group, loaded up with experience, loaded up with playoff big time experience, they might be ready to accomplish the same thing that Michigan and Ohio State did each of the last 2 years. But I'll add this on. Ohio State has some number 1 support. Penn State maybe is getting picked to be a national champion by some of us. So while Texas is 1, Penn State is 2, Ohio State is 3, the way that I think our voters are looking at this is that any of those would be an appropriate pick for the number 1. We just got to go see what happens on the field this fall.
So then what's the gap like for Clemson coming in at number 4? And maybe how much of this is a statement that Clemson is back and ready to be back at that elite college football status?
Right. We've got Clemson at the top of our next tier. Draw a line after the top 3. Clemson is leading the next tier for us. Of course, they came in at number 6 in the Coaches Poll earlier this week. Much like with Penn State, we are more bullish on the Clemson Tigers. And if you look at the common threads here, they both bring back their quarterback. Cade Klubnik looking like a Heisman Trophy contender. They both have a bunch of players who have played a lot of football together. I mean, the Clemson has NFL players at basically every position group right now. They could be having as many as 4 or 5 first-round NFL draft picks in the 2026 NFL draft. That is a formula and a blueprint that we saw in 2016 when they won the national championship, and that we saw in 2018 when they won the national championship. So I think that Clemson 100% is a top 5 team, and it seems like there are some voters who are all the way in on the Tigers being at the top of that next tier within the top 10.
So Clemson certainly leading the charge in the ACC. When you look around the conference, you have to scroll a little bit to find North Carolina, but you see them at 54. Chip, I know you live in Raleigh, so you're right there in that part of the country. Is this a fair number for year 1 under Bill Belichick?
Yes, but I think that they'll finish higher. Because I think the starting point for this North Carolina team, in terms of ranking them, in terms of rating them, has to understand that rebuilding a roster with more than 70 new players is going to take a little bit of time to get everything ironed out. But the reason why I think they'll finish higher is because the schedule is so manageable. North Carolina has one of the most favorable schedules in the ACC. So in terms of rating the team, they might be lower than when they finish in the final ranking, just because they have to play Clemson, yes, but no Miami, no Louisville, no SMU. Your toughest non-conference game against TCU is going to be at home on Labor Day, Monday night. And so I just think for the Tar Heels that they've got that great opportunity with Bill Belichick in year one to have their final win-loss record be maybe even a little bit better than the caliber or quality of their team. So a great starting point, but I would not be surprised to see them inside the top 30 by the end of the year.
Chip, I want to do some rapid fire here to make the folks that work in this office a little maybe more understanding of their team's rankings or make them happy. Since we are in Fort Lauderdale, we have tons of Canes alum and fans here at the office. Miami is 10.
Yeah, Miami is going to be right there with so many expectations, and get ready for them to bounce all over these rankings, because with those early season meetings against Notre Dame and Florida, it could either be shooting way up to the top or you could find yourself outside the top 25. So get it done in the non-con. Now we're talking about you differently, but if they stumble out the gate with Carson Beck, look for a drop.
My alma mater, Chip, the Florida Gators, talk to me nice as we sit at 12.
Yeah, so this is the opposite of North Carolina, right? The caliber of the roster might not end up with the kind of record that you expect, because Florida has one of the toughest schedules in the entire country. When we see this rating from the CBS Sports Brain Trust up at number 12, well, Zach, that means that we are rating the roster, not where we think they're going to finish at the end of the year. But if DJ Lagway is healthy, there's not a team on that schedule that Florida can't beat. I
like that, Chip. I like that a whole lot. I like even more, I can say now. Brandon's alma mater, Temple, is at, let me check the notes, 127 out of 136.
Don't be mean to Brandon. All right, Brandon, don't worry. KC Keeler is a good coach. We're talking a decade at Delaware, a decade at Sam Houston. This is his opportunity to try to level up. Is the personnel at a level where we expect Temple to be able to go and win the conference? No. But if you've got elite coaching, Brandon, you can close the gap. It's about the special sauce. It's about being able to win those one-score games, and I believe in KC Keeler as a good hire for the Temple Owls.
No false hope, please.
Brandon doesn't
believe.
He's not a believer in the slightest.
We gotta get our own stadium first.
Yeah, y'all need to do a lot of things. Producer Tully's son goes to UAB, Chip. So they're at 117, and you say what?
Tough uphill sledding in the American. This roster gets picked over when there's someone who flashes at UAB. A lot of power conferences schools are going to come calling. I think that what I would look for a UAB fan is to be able to get close to 500 in conference play. That gives you a chance to flirt with the bowl game. But I got to say that the distance between UAB and where that program wants to be at the top of the American is still at least a couple cycles away.
Last one, but certainly not least, Alex G does everything here at HQ for us, producing, does graphics, all the cool stuff we have. His alma mater, TCU, the Horned Frogs, 31.
I tell you what, TCU's a dangerous team. Josh Hoover, one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12. They'll get a chance to make a statement against Bill Belichick and the North Carolina Tar Heels in week 1. And remember that we thought the Frogs might be just left for dead in the middle of last season. They get hot, run off a bunch of wins. I like the resilience of this group.
I like the entire list that we had, all 136. Make sure you check out that article online to find out where your favorite school might be. But for now, Chip Patterson, thank you so much. And of course, college football lives over there on YouTube when it comes to CBS Sports. Go ahead, like, subscribe, and scan that QR code to get truly everything from the world of college football.